Neho, everybody. Welcome back to another video. We're going to start this off with a Vietnamese restaurant, and the waiter immediately greets me with "Kay do wei," which I believe means how many seats in Cantonese. So I believe they spoke to me in Cantonese first because this is Chinatown. It's predominantly Cantonese speaking, and the demographic is largely Cantonese, but there's also a mix of Vietnamese here and there. So yeah, the waiter asked me "Kay do wei," which I believe means how many seats or how many people in Cantonese. And then I replied back by saying "Em đi một người," which means one person, please, or one person in Vietnamese. I didn't reply back in Cantonese because I prepared this day specifically to talk in Vietnamese. So I replied back in Vietnamese by saying "Em đi một người." Một người. Thank you. Anh ơi, can I do lấy cho em một tô xẻ lửa and, và một ly cà phê sữa nóng. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you. So you're going to hear me call the waiter Anh ơi, which means older brother, or excuse me, older brother, because he's a male, and the pronouns in Vietnamese is depends on the age and the gender of whoever you're talking to. So I'll call him Anh, which means older brother. And then I went on to say what I rehearsed beforehand, which is Anh ơi, lấy cho em một tô xe lửa và một ly cà phê sữa nóng, which basically means, older brother, can you please give me a bowl of xe lửa, which is pho, and one glass of hot coffee with condensed milk. And if you listen closely, right after I say Anh ơi, lấy cho em một tô xe lửa, he says something along the lines of có gì nữa không, which I believe means do you need anything else? Do you want anything else? And then that's when I said và một ly cà phê sữa nóng, which means and one cup of hot coffee. Anh ơi, don't think you're anything. Thank you. Thank you. After I finish eating, I want to pay the bill. So I call on the waiter. I say exactly the same thing as I did before, which is Anh ơi, and then I went on to say Tân tính giùm em đi. And Tân means to calculate, and tính means money. So calculate money. Giùm em đi, which just means, I honestly don't know what that means, but it's just part of the phrase. So Tân tính giùm em đi. I'm calling myself as em because I'm talking to a slightly older male or a slightly older person. So that means that I have to change my pronoun into em. If I were to be talking to, let's say, a person that's around the age of an uncle or an auntie, I gotta change the pronoun to a con. So I would have to say, so instead of saying Anh ơi, Tân tính giùm em đi, I would have to change the phrase into chú ơi or cô ơi, Tân tính giùm con đi. Anh ơi, ở đây có bán chả lúa không?
Không có
Chả lúa, okay.
cháo lụa của nó Vietnamese supermarket.
So one thing to know about some Vietnamese restaurants is that they would also sell like grocery items at the front near the registers. And a grocery item that I was specifically looking for is called cha lua, which is some kind of pork roll that you would use to complement a certain type of noodle, which is called pan ớt. This specific Vietnamese restaurant usually sells it, but I guess they probably ran out or they're probably out of stock or something. So the sentence I used was Anh ơi, ở đây có bán cha lua không? Which means, older brother, do you sell cha lua over here? And he said no. So, and he pointed me to the direction of the closest Vietnamese market around. So right after eating some pho, I wanted to eat some dessert. I headed over to a bakery. So one thing to know about Chinatown, New York City, is that even though the demographic is predominantly Cantonese speaking, there's also a mix of other ethnic groups or people that speaks a variety of different languages. And the more you walk around and the more you like pay attention, you would notice that there are a few businesses that speak both Cantonese and Vietnamese, and this is one of the bakeries that they speak both Vietnamese and Cantonese. So yeah, this is where I went to practice my Vietnamese. Chú, can I get chú ơi lấy cho em 2 cái bánh thạch.
2 cái bánh
Yes,
thạch.
yes please.
Rồi
And,
chọn gì nữa không?
Uh,
Bánh cam, bánh dẻo, bánh bao chỉ,
I just do mostly cafe soda.
sữa đá,
No,
sữa nóng,
yes,
nóng lấy đường không?
small.
Sugar, đường.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, my Vietnamese not too good.
Oh, okay, you born here?
Yeah, I was born here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cảm ơn.
Yeah, come on. In this dialogue between me and the uncle, you can see me also switching up the pronouns again. And the pronouns extremely important in Vietnamese because it just sets the tone of how respectful you are. So I called him Chú instead of Anh, which is older brother. But in this case, so I would say Chú, which means uncle. I said Chú ơi, which means excuse me, uncle. I asked him if he could give me 2 dan tat. And dan tat is the Cantonese word of egg tarts. I didn't know how to say egg tart in Vietnamese because I believe egg tarts are a Cantonese thing. So I just know how to say egg tarts in Cantonese, which in retrospect, now that I look back at it, it's kind of cool that I did that. I didn't really know that I did that, but yeah, I used a Cantonese word inside a Vietnamese sentence. And then if you hear him clearly, he called me Gong, which is another pronoun. So for an uncle or an auntie or anybody older than that talking to a younger person, they will call you Gong. It's not a derogative term. It's kind of like how in English, if an older person would call you son. I believe that's like the closest comparison. So that's what he called me, son. Do you want anything else? I said I would also like a hot coffee. I kind of messed up. I said cafe soda, which means iced coffee, but I wanted cafe so nóng, which is hot coffee. And then he asked me đường. I don't really know the word for sugar, but I thought he asked me what size. But in reality, he actually asked me if I wanted sugar or not. Within the short dialogue, I learned something new. I learned the word for sugar is đường or đường. I don't know what's the proper tone, but that's the word, đường. So he went on to point and describe the bakery items that were closest to him. And honestly, I don't know any of those terms, but what I do know is that in Vietnamese, when you're talking about like a pastry, I guess, there's always the word bánh in the word for the pastry. So bánh, it just means like bread or something like that, like bánh bao, or I guess something like that. Something that has to do with bread. So you can see he says like bun something and then bun something else and then bun. I might be wrong on the term bun because there's also a Vietnamese food that's called bun xeo, and that has nothing to do with bread. I don't know, that's something that I would have to research on. And again, just like in the Vietnamese restaurant, the uncle, he asked me, con có gì nữa, con có gì nữa không? Or something along those lines. That's what it sounds like. I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but that just means, son, do you want anything else? So in the background over here, right after I finished handing the Joe the money, you could hear in the background everyone speaking Cantonese, and the other auntie next to the Joe, she was speaking Cantonese to the customer, and she asked him, "You tong ma," which I believe means, "Do you need sugar?" in Cantonese. "You tong ma." You means to need. Tong means sugar. And ma, I believe that's the final particle at the end to indicate whether or not it's a question. But yeah, I'm surprised that I understood that, and I feel like that was worth documenting and noting. Oh, and one other thing that I think is worth documenting is that while I was sitting down eating my dantat, like 2 tables in front of me, there was a very old grandma that was sitting down, and a very old grandpa walked in to the bakery, and he greeted the grandma, and they were saying something in Cantonese that I had no idea, but the grandpa, he was going to give the grandma a $20 bill. I couldn't understand, but based on like their body language and intonation, probably the grandpa owed the grandma some money, or I don't know. But while the grandpa was trying to hand her the $20 bill, the grandma said no, 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 and then the grandpa said "Doi umju," which is the equivalent of sorry in English. I know that there's 2 ways of saying sorry in Cantonese, and I believe that the way to say "Doi umju," that's like a more severe way of saying sorry. But for some reason, I heard him say that, and I remember that "Doi umju" just means sorry. So he was sorry for something. Cô ơi, cô ơi, cô ơi, cô ơi, có bánh chả lụa không? Cô, cô ơi, có bánh chả lụa không? Không. Cô, cô ơi, có bánh chả lụa không? Cô ơi, có bánh chả lụa không? Có bánh chả lụa không? Okay. So this is where I'm going to head into a Vietnamese supermarket, and I'm trying to look for a specific item called cha lua. As I explained previously, it's like a loaf of pre-cooked pork that you would eat with a certain type of noodle called pan ức, which I will show later in this video. Right before I head in, I'm practicing what to say, which is "Cô ơi, có bánh chả lụa không?" or "Cô ơi, ở đây có bánh chả lụa không?" Không. Cô ơi is the pronoun, which is auntie. Có means do you have, or in this case I'm asking a question, so do you have or do you not have? Có bánh. Bánh means the verb to sell. Chả lụa, which is the noun, the pork loaf. Come is kind of like no or yes. Do you have or do you not have? So if you put it all together, I'm trying to say, Auntie, do you sell pork loaf or not? Something along those lines.
Chú ơi,
Dạ.
có bán chả lụa không?
Chả lụa qua đây.
À,
Tiệm Việt Nam không chả lụa là không có đi. Đây. Rồi thứ hai đó một dọc là chả lụa, chả Quế, chả gì cũng có.
This one?
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay. Cảm ơn.
Cái này chả lụa, chả bì, chả Quế, chả chiên.
Okay.
Ok.
Cảm ơn.
Tiếp luôn.
Thì chả lụa ở đây nè.
So I was assuming that I was going to talk to an auntie, but in this case, I saw a uncle. I quickly changed my pronoun in my head to auntie to uncle, which now that I think about it is kind of messing me up because in my head, I'm already rehearsing the sentence that I'm going to say, and the fact that I need to look at the person and try to determine what pronoun to use, that slight millisecond in my head is kind of how would I say, it's kind of causing me friction, like causing a delay on what I need to say. If you understand what I'm trying to say, like I already rehearsed what I'm trying to say, and now on top of that I need to determine which pronoun to correctly use, which is kind of messing me up, but I guess this is the whole point of practicing. So after I asked uncle, he said ware, which I think means come over here. And then while he was taking me there, he jokingly said something along the lines of, this is a Vietnamese supermarket. If we don't sell jalua, that means this is not a Vietnamese supermarket, or something like that. He said it in a jokingly manner, which I'm glad that I have understood, because the whole point of this YouTube channel is to try to practice and try to understand as well as speak in Vietnamese and in Cantonese. So the more I try to surround myself and the more I try to put myself in these scenarios, the more I can improve on Vietnamese and Cantonese. So yeah, I hope I'm inspiring whoever is watching this. So there's Cha Luo, and then there's some other stuff. There's like different variants of Cha Luo. So he goes on to point out and list the different varieties. They're all right next to each other. There's Cha Luo, Chao Bei, Chao Wei, or something like that. I don't know about the other variants. I never ate it before, but what I was looking for was Cha Luo.
Cô ơi, cái này bao nhiêu tiền?
Hả? 32.
Ok. Cảm ơn. Cảm ơn chú.
So I asked the auntie at the cashier how much it is in Vietnamese. I said cô ơi, bao nhiêu tiền, which just means, auntie, how much is this?
Cô ơi, phải có cái vào quay không? Cô ơi, ở đây do you have basil?
Basil.
Yeah, basil.
Give me.
So I forgot to buy basil, and I needed basil. So the way to say basil in Vietnamese is rau huê, or something like that. It's kind of hard for me to say that, so you can see me here rehearsing before I go in. So part of learning a new language is that you're just going to have brain farts all the time. I guess this is just one scenario. I just totally I don't know what happened, but I just spaced out. Like, I don't know, I froze. So I saw the lady at the register, and I tried to determine which pronoun to use. I called her go, which is auntie, and then I said go I, and then I totally blanked out, and then I froze for a few seconds, and then I just immediately defaulted into English, and I asked her, do you have any basil? So in this clip, I'm walking into a Cantonese noodle shop. It's like a noodle slash bakery slash coffee shop, and they sell a particular item that you need to eat with cha luo, which is called pan ức. In Cantonese, it's called hao fan or ha fan, hao fan. And here I'm trying to speak Cantonese, and I'm doing a very terrible job because I really didn't practice for this particular scenario. I dedicated this day to speak Vietnamese, but I didn't know that there weren't any Vietnamese shops that sold pan ức, and the only place that sold pan ức was this Cantonese shop. So I'm asking. So I started off the conversation with the auntie saying Assam, which I believe is the equivalent of go. So I said Assam, Nei, Yao Mo, Ha Fan, which means do you have Ha Fan? She didn't understand anything I said except for the word Ha Fan, and she just pointed to it and about 5. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you what I bought. This is the pan ức in Vietnamese, and in Cantonese it's called ha fan. This is the cha luo, all cut up into slices. Before being cut up, it just comes in like a round roll wrapped in bamboo leaves. So this you will eat with this, as well as basil, rau hui, and I bought some white string beans. You will put all of this together, steam this up, and put nước mắm on it, which is fish sauce. Nước mắm or nước tương, I get those two confused. But yeah, it's really good. Nước mắm, now look at nước mắm. Mua đồ xong luôn, ăn gọi xong luôn, mua cà phê xong luôn. Bên này lạnh quá, tại sao tôi mua cà phê sữa nóng?